Hey everyone, it's your favorite community ambassador of the year, Zeta. Not sure where that came from. Well, as some of you might be aware, the Rivals Community Awards was a short while ago, and a lot of awesome people and content got highlighted. I was nominated for Creator of the Year, and ended up winning the Community Ambassador Award. A big part of the night was spent on workshop content too, and I wanted to highlight some of that. I think it's awesome the community that we've built around Workshop, and I'm super happy that they decided to show off some of the best Workshop has to offer. And in turn, I wanted to talk a little more about the winners. I know a lot of them super well, and some of them are definitely things people have wanted me to talk about, so I'm excited to get into them. Before we get into the bulk of the nominations with characters, let's start with some of the other categories. And for the first one, I have a funny story. A new developer approached me back in February about trying to get a mod in Workshop Blueprints. They had a really cool concept, and I was on the fence about including it, but ultimately turned it down. Honestly, to some degree, I just didn't think what they were trying to pull off was feasible with how limited buddies are. Yeah, worst mistake of my career. I'm so sorry, Ikers Fletch. The Final Strong, wait, I can call it its real name here. Final Smash Buddy is an absolute game changer. This buddy adds a final smash meter to the game. Filling it enables over 50 characters to access their final smash, a powerful super attack. For casual players, this is a pretty big deal. It adds a fun new aspect that adds spectacle and changes up the game immensely. And when I say spectacle, I mean it. Characters like Bonbee, Red Miso, Mario Pissing 2, and Ramethal all have animated cinematics in their final smashes. That's insane! Like Ikers Flesh said in his acceptance speech, the community really went wild with the framework allowed, but some credit should still be given to the buddy itself. Not only does it render and keep track of the smash balls in the HUD, but it also has an interesting failsafe. In the event that a character is missing a final smash, they aren't out of luck. The Smash Ball can be activated during an attack, which will not only provide that attack with armor for an uninterruptible reversal, but also cause the Smash Ball to become a fake Smash Ball and explode, dealing good damage. Overall, the Final Smash Buddy is just a pinnacle of casual workshop play, and ultimately gave way to even crazier stuff like enabling more supers for stuff like Rivals of Aether. And speaking of alternate game modes, realistically only one could take the dub here. That's not to say the other options were bad, far from it. But the winner was such an insane project years in the making, there's no way it wouldn't win. Adventure Mode Hollow Flame is what happens when the most talented creators the community has to offer come together to just completely flip the game on its head. Nothing else has the distinction of being both a perfect extension of Rivals, while also feeling like an entirely different game. As the name suggests, the Adventure Mode is a short story mode intended to expand the lore of the game. It takes place in a fire capital outpost led by Reichenburn, and tasks you with helping out around the place. There's some interesting story here, nothing too crazy, but I won't spoil it for you. Enjoy it for yourself. However, the gameplay here is absolutely ridiculous. It features a dynamic camera, multiple custom enemy types with their own knockback and multiple attack patterns, dialogue boxes, items, dungeon crawling, stealth, and even a few bosses. If you've never played this before, you owe it to yourself to check it out. The mode is only a few minutes long, but those minutes are absolutely action-packed. Plus, the project is open source, so if anyone else wants to make their own adventure, they totally can. This would not have been possible without such a crazy dedicated team, and I hope this is only the beginning for these insane workshop adventures. Now, another thing that doesn't get a lot of credit is stages, and that's really a shame. As far as I know, a lot of tournaments don't want to spend the hassle of getting them set up just to run them, which means a lot of stuff that just doesn't get seen as much. And honestly, because of that, the winner of this took me by surprise. Grenades and Spades' Battle of Bohr is not a complicated stage, at least gameplay-wise, and it doesn't really have any fancy gimmicks, and it just also features a very simple layout. Instead, where Bohr takes the cake is that it has one of the most visually involved stage designs I've ever seen. The stage takes place in the middle of a war zone, and an active one at that. A very, very active one. Troops dropping in via parachute, gunfire being traded left and right, airships moving past, nearly every inch of the screen is covered in action. Not only that, but when one player is down to their last stock, the stage undergoes a small transition. Is this super distracting and loud? Kinda, but visually it's a sight to behold. The crystal in full display, debris falling from the sky, everything reaches its ultimate conclusion. Being brutally honest, I think there's a fair argument that this is not one of the best stages to play on. It's definitely a bit chaotic at times for a serious match, but as a standalone experience or as a casual match, I think this stage is absolutely gorgeous and super deserving of the award for just the sheer amount of diverse animations on top of one of the most just detailed backgrounds in any stage. Bohr is just really above and beyond, and I love it for that. Although, no stage is complete without a good music track, and in case you were wondering where that last track came from, well, it's actually from our next winner in the Best Music category, Delta Parallax. Delta has consistently been an amazing composer, putting out great work for all kinds of things. He made the compositions for workshop blueprints, and has generally been great to work with. I'm not super versed on music, but his high-energy tracks and a lot of focus on strong percussion leaves a great impression and fits perfectly for a lot of Rivals creations. He's done a variety of styles, but a Delta Parallax track is super distinct and recognizable, in a good way. I'm always excited when a new track comes out from him, and I hope to see his future endeavors. The last character I'd like to talk about before we get into characters is Best Ongoing Project. The winner of this category is arguably the most revolutionary thing to hit the workshop. Munophone by Muno is an API that can be added to any character. What this API does is add a custom training mode menu to your character. This menu provides basically every training utility you could possibly want. Probably the most used feature is character tips, allowing for character-specific information to be displayed. In addition, it also adds detailed frame data displays for every character. You can access and view patch notes in-game to check and see if something feels off. There's also general utilities like easier parry testing, green screens, causing the AI to spam a specific move if you'd like. However, one of the coolest features it offers is the ability to save and load states. This allows you to practice combo setups over and over more efficiently than ever before. Just in general, these provide invaluable tools for anyone looking to practice with characters in a training mode setting. I could imagine that if this was accessible to basecast characters, it would just be an amazing feature for them as well. With those out of the way, it's time to move on to character-specific awards. Let's start with the one that I got to present, Best Narrative Elements. Lore is not always something that's focused on with characters, but it's something that I think a lot of creators consider when making their characters. Ultimately, the winner of this category was Loadent by PK King. Loadent is one of the few Rivals characters to feature a fully animated trailer, which is probably what got him the win. His trailer is a comical take on the future character setup. He's just a mischievous chipmunk causing chaos in a Neo Fire Capital base, but in a fight with one of Loxodon's generals, he ends up accidentally falling into a time machine and getting thrown into the past. In some ways it plays as a parody of Claren's story, which works really well for the character. Now, being perfectly honest, I'm not sure how well Loadent has aged gameplay-wise, but aesthetically the character is also pretty cool. He plays around the idea of polarities, which affect Loadent and his acorns. This allows him to adjust the strength of his launches at will and provide strong control over the battlefield. The character design is pretty great too. If you want to see more, there's a great video series on PK's channel going over the creation of the character. I'd highly recommend checking it out, and I'll link it in the description. Now, if you're looking for visual spectacle, the winner of the Best Animation category should be right up your alley. And in all honesty, there's one character that definitely stands above the rest. Monarch is one of the most visually polished characters Rivals has ever seen. They're not a super common pick to play as, likely due to their weird focus on defense and movement in their special moves. Every single one is a teleport of some kind, and usually features no offensive benefit unless you use some kind of crazy setup. Instead, their normals supplement things with powerful hits and really flashy attacks. Not only does Monarch have some super clean looking animations, but the FX are top notch. We're talking randomized hit effects, custom trails, custom galaxy streams, even dynamic lighting is in the mix. This character is absolutely stacked. Every single move is unique in a way that's super visually appealing. Now, this does come with a caveat that a lot of their moves are weird, which means that a lot of times it takes a character specialist to highlight Monarch. However, whenever they're on screen, it's a sight to behold. Interestingly, the character chosen as best gameplay was not who I was expecting. Not that it wasn't deserved, because it definitely was, it's just that I'd expect an open poll to pick a character that's easier to play. But the character that was chosen, Splurm's Zephrie, is a natural extension of the ideas presented in the base game. As an air character, Zephrie has a unique movement tool that no other character has. But Zephrie takes on the black sheep of platform fighter movement and really makes it work: gliding. After certain moves, Zephrie will enter a gliding state. Depending on the move, they have to wait a bit before attacking, but can move freely. Gliding is heavily momentum based, but can allow for very tight chases and precise movement if done well. It's very tricky to pull off, but extremely rewarding. Aside from that, Zephrie can place down these tornado things on the field. If they do a strong into them, it will alter the trajectory, allowing for some very powerful shifts in momentum. However, if you're clever enough to get your opponent to fall into one, it creates an air current that increases your momentum while gliding through it. Managing these can significantly improve your gliding ability. Couple this with some great buttons designed to get the most out of the gimmick, and you have a very challenging but very rewarding character. And of course, in addition to these, a best overall design winner was crowned. And honestly, it's no surprise that they took the spotlight after being one of the most popular OCs past the Diamonds in the Rough era. Of course, I'm talking about Huponia's NA. An advanced soldier in the Abyss hive mind, it is calm and collected while also being fearsome and deadly. Logically, these character traits fit into its playstyle as an absolutely nutty lockdown character. NA's normals have great range and pressure, and if you get hit by one, a lot of things just kill. In addition, its gimmick allows it to coat the stage in these void bubbles. These bubbles can be set and then split apart to control a huge chunk of the stage. You might think that bubbles aren't that big of a threat, but this is Rivals we're talking about, don't be ridiculous. On their own, these bubbles just explode if hit, preventing opponents from mashing buttons. But more than that, the bubbles will cause your neutral special to home in on the opponent while your projectile is within it, leading to some strong snipes. The most devious use, however, is using down special to charge up energy. This will electrify the orbs, giving you more energy if it hits the opponent. With energy full, you gain the power of the true Abyss laser that can wipe out opponents in an instant. Its animations are super smooth and fluid, and with some amazing hit effects, it's no surprise it came out on top. I honestly would really love to see NA make its way to Rivals too, but that's a conversation for another time. And while that's the end of the individual items, there are a few more categories I'd like to highlight. You see, a few specific creators were highlighted for their various talents and consistently making great content. I'll probably have more full videos on each of these creators, but I wanted to give my personal thoughts on all of them. First off, in the best art style category, we have a character whose art is distinctly recognizable by anyone browsing the workshop. Of course, I'm talking about Muno. Muno characters are always recognizable from a mile away. Muno's style has much more angular shapes and its own shading that makes it very unmistakably his. His characters generally fit the base game design principles, but go a little above and beyond for some crazy ideas too. Characters like Trummel and Glare have standard stage control like the clouds and prisms, but also have an install and a stance change respectively that significantly modify how they work in their own unique way. These techniques all have their distinct visual style with the FX and UI indicators, and just gives them such a great feeling. I haven't really talked about many of them, but all of Muno's characters are just super flashy and a lot of fun. We had a lot of really cool people start their workshop careers this year as well, but the person who ended up taking the best new creator category was Regina Reforged. Her career has been so impactful to workshop, it's insane to think that she just started this year. Alongside some super solid solo projects like Anglara, a fish that plays off of the Shoto archetype but adds Rika gimmicks and a light sphere, Regina quickly became friends with a lot of workshop regulars and made some amazing collaborations. Take Maverick for example, a collaboration with Vizard who is an air monkey versed in crazy cargo throw setups. Or the collaboration with McDucky and Carcassonne, a tricky rushdown that gets stronger and closer to death over time. In addition, Regina has also dabbled in stages, creating quite the lineup there. Alongside that, she also helped a lot with the SSL project, and even composed this track you're hearing now. Her work has made a massive impact on the workshop, and I'm excited to see what else she has planned. And lastly, the big one. The last category is overall workshop creator, and for a lot of people, only one person could fit the bill, and that's Sai. If you haven't heard that name, you're probably living under a rock, or you just don't play workshop, which I mean, fair enough. Either way though, Sai is one of the most dedicated creators on workshop. With over 20 characters, they could very much make their own game at this point. Sai characters are what I think a lot of people would have expected workshop to be, but done to an unimaginable level of quality. They're flashy, intense, and just all around crazy without necessarily trying to follow the standard base cast principles of design. And that's not a bad thing. Instead of having stage control or some special synergy, Sai characters will have a complex meter or something that would just be a bit too much to implement with another mechanic. That's not always the case though. Sometimes their characters are just easy to pick up and play while being simple and fun. Sai also likes to go back and look at their catalog from time to time and keep experiences relatively up to date and fresh. As a final thought, I think Sai's characters are a good metaphor for the concept of workshop as a whole. Workshop as a concept is absolutely chaotic. Anyone can make anything, and those things can be crazy, flashy, intense, and overwhelmingly chaotic. But ultimately, for some reason, something has happened that has just made this game all come together into one of the greatest games I've ever played. Somehow, in the depths of madness itself, things just kind of fall into place and make something beautiful. And that's really all I have to say. Play Workshop, y'all.